Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. In today's video, we're going to be making 3 different keychains in 3 different ways using these Make Market sublimation keychains. So if you are interested in seeing how I make them and what I make them with, then keep watching. Okay, starting here in Design Space on the canvas, I'm going to click on Upload. The images I want to use for the keychains are uploaded into Design Space already, so I'm going to click on them and then click Add to Canvas. I want to resize them, so I'm going to start by clicking on the larger one and change the width to 3, and then change the width to 3 for this one. Now they're smaller, so we can work with them. I also want to add another image that is here in Design Space. So I'm going to grab it by clicking on Image, typing in Fall, and then scroll down, and here is the image I want. I'm going to close this out, and I want to make a change to this particular design. So I'm going to click on Contour. So I'm not a pumpkin spice or latte or coffee kind of girl. Realistically, this cup would have hot chocolate in it. So I'm just gonna take the pumpkin away by clicking on all the pieces. Okay, now the pumpkin is all grayed out. So I'm going to click on the X, and now we just have a sleeve. I will resize it by unlocking, changing this to 1.4 for the width and 1.7 for the height. Now this one is complete. Coming to Fall Sweet Fall, I want to click on it and ungroup. And then I'm going to click on Fall. What I want to do here is come down to Combine and click Weld. I'm clicking Weld because sometimes with cursive fonts, when you cut them out, you'll find breaks in between each letter. So to avoid that, I want to click on Weld. Now, I realize this is an SVG, but I have come across some SVGs where the cursive letters were not welded beforehand. So I just want to do it to be sure that once I cut everything out, there are no issues. I'm also going to click on Sweet here on the side panel. I'm going to change the color to pink. I also want to click on Sweet one more time, click Combine and Weld. Now I can drag over both, group it, and then I want to resize. So I'm going to unlock, type in 1.4 for the width and 1.7 for the height. And now Fall Sweet Fall is completed. Let's come over to this beautiful PNG. I am going to first resize it, making the width 1.4 and the height 1.5. Now I do want to add one other element to this, so I'm going to click on Shapes, click the square, and I also want to resize this square. So once again, come over to unlock it and change it to 1.6 for the width and 2.6 for the height. Now, when you are working with a PNG, so when you're doing a print then cut, the color does matter. So I do not want my box to be this dark gray, so I'm going to come over to the box, click on Advance, and I'm actually going to put in the colors code. So the code is F3C3AD. And then bring the image over, click Send to the back, highlight everything, click on a line, center, and then come down here to the right and click flatten. Now my print and cut image is ready, and so are the SVGs. So I'm going to click on make, on matte and confirm. Now my print and cut image is good. So I'm going to click on this brown, and I want to move the brown image to the pink matte. So how you do that is by clicking on these three dots, click on move object, and then click the pink matte, and then confirm. I'm going to move this here underneath the 3-inch mark and leave the suite here. Now I can mirror it. What I will do is put my brown material here and my pink material there. I'm going to scroll down and click on this one. As you can see, this one is good and ready to go. So I'm going to click on continue. I want to start by printing the print and cut. So I'm going to click on it, click send to printer, turn off the bleed, but turn on use system dialog, then click print. I need to change the printer to my sublimation printer. So I'm gonna click here, click Epson, then click on presets and click sublimation settings, which it automatically mirrors it for me. That's why I didn't click on mirror on the matte screen. From here, I will click on print and allow everything to print and cut, and then meet you all at my craft desk. We are at my craft desk and everything has been printed and or cut. I'm going to start with the 'Tis the Season design that I cut on adhesive vinyl. I just applied the transfer tape to reverse weed this design. I thought this method would be the best since this is such a very small cut. As I'm pulling off the backer, I'm trying to figure out the best way to pull this off because I noticed that some of the paper was sticking to the vinyl as I was removing the backer. So I'm just removing all of the pieces of the design I do not want to keep. Then I'll remove the large piece of vinyl from around the design, leaving only the image on the transfer tape. If you aren't new to weeding vinyl, you know it is easier to weed larger designs. So as I'm removing this surrounding piece, I'm taking my time to avoid losing any of the pieces that should remain on the transfer tape. Look how small this is. Before applying the vinyl, I am going to prep my blank by cleaning it with rubbing alcohol to remove any oils from my hands or any particles that might be on it. We want the vinyl to adhere to the keychain flawlessly and last for a long time. I'm going to apply the vinyl to the keychain, give it a quick burnish, then remove the transfer tape to reveal the finished product. Our first keychain came out really nice. This is a very simple, beginner-friendly project done with adhesive vinyl. Now let's move on to the HTV. The weeding process for HTV is similar to adhesive vinyl, but in my opinion, weeding HTV is easier. I'm going to start by weeding the brown HTV, then the pink foil. Although this was easier to weed, it still took some time because of the size of the design. So I'll spare you and skip to the good part. Both pieces of HTV are ready to be heat pressed to the keychain. I'm just figuring out the best placement for the brown piece. Although I can't heat press them both at the same time, I am applying them to the keychain to make sure I like where the design will be permanently. I'm bringing in my mini press to adhere the design. It's set to the first wavy line, aka on low. I chose the lowest setting because of the foil iron-on. I've noticed in the past that when the temperature is too high, it will cause the foil iron-on to wrinkle, and that is how it will look permanently. I'd rather it take a little longer to adhere if that means I'll get that smooth texture. While removing the carrier sheet, I noticed lifting on a couple of the letters. I also realized I never pulled out my heat mat, so I got that and applied heat for the second time. You also may notice that I am only applying heat where it needed it. So that's another plus about using the Heat Press Mini. That time, everything laid down perfectly. Now to add the pink foil iron-on. I took the carrier sheet from the brown vinyl and covered everything, so the heat press didn't come in contact with the brown vinyl. While heat pressing the foil iron-on, I applied very light pressure. I was doing everything I could to keep the integrity of the foil iron-on. This is how I was hoping it came out. Do you see how smooth that foil iron-on is? The camera is a little out of focus, but it looks really, really good. And I love the brown and pink together. So that was our keychain with heat transfer vinyl. Let's move on to the last keychain. This design is going to be sublimated to the keychain, but first I'm going to cut off the registration lines. I could have let my Cricut cut it out, but since it was such a simple cut, I figured I'd just do it myself. When you sublimate, you want to make sure your sublimation paper is touching the heat plate. In this case, I laid the design down first, then placed the keychain on top of the design so I could make sure it was lined up properly. Once I get to the heat press, I will flip it so the paper will be touching the heat plate. Of course, you should protect your heat press with butcher paper or parchment paper in case the ink bleeds. But the design should always be on top of the blank. So let's head over to the heat press. Okay, guys, this is the moment of truth. We get to see how the keychain turned out. Listen, I think this turned out better than I imagined it would. Oh my goodness. At this point, I wish I would have done the other side because it's just beautiful. The colors are vibrant and it's giving all the fall feels. I love it. Okay, so we have all three keychains back in the camera. We use adhesive vinyl, sublimation, and heat transfer vinyl. We use 3 different methods on the same type of keychain. Although this keychain was made for sublimation, we were able to apply adhesive vinyl and heat transfer vinyl. And if you don't sublimate, you could also use infusible ink sheets. These would be good for simple teacher gifts or coworker gifts or even a great addition to a swag bag. I want to thank you all for hanging out with me as I gave you a quick tutorial on how to use these keychains in 3 different ways. I hope that it was inspiring, that you learned a little something, or maybe you were just entertained. I hope that you would like, comment, share, and subscribe and turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss another video of mine. I'll see you in my next one. Later, guys.